New York City was built by immigrants, and it's sustained by immigrants, by people from more than 100 different countries, speaking more than 200 different languages, and professing every faith. And whether your parents were born here or you came here yesterday, you are a New Yorker. We may not always agree with every one of our neighbors. That's life, and it's part of living in such a diverse and dense city. But we also recognize that part of being a New Yorker is living with your neighbors in mutual respect and tolerance. It was exactly that spirit of openness and acceptance that was attacked on 9/11/2001. On that day, 3,000 people were killed because some murderous fanatics didn't want us to enjoy the freedoms to profess our own faiths, to speak our own minds, to follow our own dreams, and to live our own lives. Of all our precious freedoms, the most important may be the freedom to worship as we wish. And it is a freedom that even here, in a city that is rooted in Dutch tolerance, was hard-won over many years. In the mid-1650s, the small Jewish community living in Lower Manhattan petitioned Dutch Governor Peter Stuyvesant for the right to build a synagogue, and they were turned down. In 1657, when Stuyvesant also prohibited Quakers from holding meetings, a group of non-Quakers in Queens signed the Flushing Remonstrance, a petition in defense of the right of Quakers and others to freely practice their religion. It was perhaps the first formal political petition for religious freedom in the American colonies, and the organizer was thrown in jail and then banished from New Amsterdam. In the 1700s, even as religious freedom took hold in America, Catholics in New York were effectively prohibited from practicing their religion, and priests could be arrested. Largely as a result, the first Catholic parish in New York City was not established until the 1780s, St. Peter's on Barclay Street, which still stands just one block north of the World Trade Center site, and one block south of the proposed Mosque and Community Center. This morning, the city's Landmark Preservation Commission unanimously voted not to extend landmark status to the building on Park Place where the Mosque and Community Center are planned. The decision was based solely on the fact that there was little architectural significance to the building. But with or without landmark designation, there is nothing in the law that would prevent the owners from opening a mosque within the existing building. The simple fact is, this building is private property, and the owners have a right to use the building as a house of worship. The government has no right whatsoever to deny that right, and if it were tried, the courts would almost certainly strike it down as a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Whatever you may think of the proposed Mosque and Community Center, lost in the heat of the debate has been a basic question. Should government attempt to deny private citizens the right to build a house of worship on private property based on their particular religion? That may happen in other countries, but we should never allow it to happen here. This nation was founded on the principle that the government must never choose between religions or favor one over another. The World Trade Center site will forever hold a special place in our city, in our hearts. But we would be untrue to the best part of ourselves and who we are as New Yorkers and Americans if we said no to a mosque in Lower Manhattan. Let us not forget that Muslims were among those murdered on 9/11, and that our Muslim neighbors grieved with us as New Yorkers and as Americans. We would betray our values and play into our enemies' hands if we were to treat Muslims differently than anyone else. In fact, to cave to popular sentiment would be to hand a victory to the terrorists, and we should not stand for that. For that reason, I believe that this is an important test of the separation of church and state, as we may see in our lifetimes, as important a test, and it is critically important that we get it right. On September 11th, 2001, thousands of first responders heroically rushed to the scene and saved tens of thousands of lives. More than 400 of those first responders did not make it out alive. In rushing into those burning buildings, not one of them asked, "What God do you pray to? What beliefs do you hold?" was an act of war, and our first responders defended not only our city, but our country and our Constitution. We do not honor their lives by denying the very constitutional rights they died protecting. We honor their lives by defending those rights and the freedoms that the terrorists attacked. Of course, it is fair to ask the organizers of the mosque to show some special sensitivity to the situation, and in fact, their plan envisions reaching beyond their walls and building an interfaith community. But doing so, it is my hope that the mosque will help to bring our city even closer together and help repudiate the false and repugnant idea that the attacks of 9/11 were in any ways consistent with Islam. Muslims are as much a part of our city and our country as the people of any faith, and they are as welcome to worship in Lower Manhattan as any other group. In fact, they have been worshiping at the site for the better part of a year, as is their right. The local community board in Lower Manhattan voted overwhelmingly to support the proposal, and if it moves forward, I expect the community center and mosque will add to the life and vitality of the neighborhood and the entire city. Political controversies come and go, but our values and our traditions endure, and there is no neighborhood in this city that is off limits to God's love and mercy, as the religious leaders here with us can attest. Our City Council, Christine Quinn, has been a great champion, as you know, for equal rights for all. Chris, would you say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for those important and eloquent comments. I also want to thank the Landmarks Preservation Commission for making the right decision on the merits of this application. The Commission was correct to deny landmark status for the old Burlington Coat Factory. There is no evidence of any wrongdoing or anything wrong about this mosque and cultural center. So any further attempt to derail this development would at its core be un-American and a violation of all of our First Amendment rights. Now that the Landmarks Preservation Commission has taken its action, we can all begin the work to renovate and create a mosque and cultural center that is as great as New York City. The leaders of this organization are free to act just like anyone else in America, just like anyone else who wishes to open a house of worship and a place for cultural and religious education and expression. Whether you're in favor of this center or not, let's remember that one of the most important and founding principles of our great nation is freedom of religion and freedom of religious expression. That's exactly what the Statue of Liberty means to all of us in this country. All four of my grandparents came here from Ireland. They entered this harbor, one after having survived the great crash of the Titanic, and they saw the Statue of Liberty waiting for them. All four of them left a country where their future was in question because they were Catholic. All four of them and many of their siblings came here to America and to New York specifically because they knew it was a place where they would be free to be Catholic and a place where they would not have economic barriers put up because of their religion. The debate around this cultural center has been difficult and divisive. It has shown us that many of the wounds of 9/11 still exist. But the true way to honor the countless men and women who have died fighting for the principles that allowed my grandparents to come here, to create their families here, to serve this city and be successful here, the way to honor them, the way to honor the 3,000 people who died on 9/11 is to respond to the proposal of this mosque and cultural center with support, with a deepened commitment to religious freedom and a deepened commitment to New York City being the freest and most tolerant and most accepting place in the world. And I believe that once we get through this difficult phase, we will see this mosque and cultural center be a tremendous addition to Lower Manhattan and a place that will actually create a center where all of us can learn the true meaning of Islam and begin to erase much of the misconception that exists in society today. And I want to thank all of the diverse religious leaders who are standing with us today and sending a message that if you try to exclude one religion from New York City. If you try to exclude one religion from one neighborhood in New York City, you are in fact trying to eliminate every religion from New York City and every religion from that neighborhood, and we simply cannot allow that to happen. Thank you.